very good evening to all of you. And today we have a very, exciting session on a very important topic, bridging foundational gaps. And I owe a big thank you to all the experts who have made time on a Saturday evening to be with us this evening. So first of all, thank you, Sapna ma'am, who is the founder of iBig Wonder and also NEP NCF mentor. And we have, yes, thank you, Sapna ma'am. We have Najma ma'am joining in from Gitanjali Global School from Hyderabad. We have Pooja Sikarwar ma'am, headmistress at the International School, Agra. We have Reema Gopal ma'am, who is PIP expert at Army Public School, Shankar Vihar, Delhi. We have Abhishek Tiwari sir, who is CIE educator at MET Global School, Noida. And we have Beena Victor ma'am from my own kind of hometown, where I did a lot of my schooling, from Delhi Public School, Risali. So thank you everyone for being here. And this is going to be a great session. Our audience is very engaging. You will just get to feel as the session progresses. They'll keep putting in, comments and a lot of, questions in the chat box. And with that, I think we will start our today's session. So before we move on, I'll just set a little context by kind of, telling a little bit about what this whole NEP 2020 series is about, and why at NEO we took the initiative of doing this series. So while NEP is a very beautiful reform, and I know that there is a lot of buzz out there, and there is a lot of content on it. It's not a new thing. There are a lot of sessions that's happening on NEP, but still, why we chose this topic is, there is a lot of theory out there, but there is very little content or ways or that kind of helping material that can help the educators, the principals, the directors to implement it on ground, like very practical and easy hacks to implement it. And that is what is unique about this series, that it's just not about what NEP is, but also about how you can, at your level, implement it in a very efficient way, low resource setting way. So that is the overall objective. And we did a context setting session before this, which was the session 1 of the series. And that was around, the history of Indian education system. We had Brigadier Sanjay Chauhan joining in for that one. And it was a beautiful session, loved by our viewers. It's still there on YouTube. You can check it out, wherein we kind of covered the whole timeline of Indian education system, right from, the pre-colonization era, and then what happened when Britishers came and colonized us, what kind of reforms were introduced then, what was the impact, what happened then after independence. So NEP 2020 is not the first education reform. There were a few more reforms that came in. What were their impact? And what is different about NEP 2020? So this was the overall context. And in this session, today's session, we are going to pick the most important aspect of not just Indian education system, but any successful education system, and that is bridging the foundational gaps. And it would be divided into 4 parts. So firstly, we will see that what exactly do we mean by foundational skills. Then we will look at, is it even important to kind of, extrapolate it to middle and secondary stages also. Then thirdly, we will look at, if yes, then how we can kind of diagnose those kind of, foundational gaps in middle and secondary stages, how we can adapt the questions for those stages. And then lastly, we will see the strategies that can help you do that kind of diagnosis and remediation with the help of technology. So that is the overall session plan. And to grace this session, we have, like I did a little intro earlier, but Sapna ma'am, apart from all the, I think, official accolades that she carries, she is someone like, I find very dynamic, very spontaneous. And I had the opportunity to, be a part of her audience in the recent Diagnostic session, wherein she was telling this crow-wala story. And the way she was with the, audience, and the way she drove the whole session, no doubt that she has won national awards for her speaking skills. And we are very grateful, ma'am, that you took out time and you are here with us today. So I'd like to invite you to do our today's keynote.
So thank you so much, Shweta. And thank you to Pooja ma'am, Beena ma'am, Abhishek ji, Reema ma'am. And in case I've missed on her name, Afsha ma'am, I think I've not seen her, so maybe I'm missing taking her name. So that's perfectly fine. But thank you, Shweta. The initiative which you have taken, specifically, I mean, whatever we've spoken and how much we've spoken about is like, it's first of all very, very happy moment for me to see that, the younger generation, right, is actually wanting to bring the reforms or maybe some kind of a problem solving. So kudos to you and the efforts, and to invite me definitely helps me speak the voice which I really wish to. And thank you for showing this picture. Well, I never thought that this picture can look so good.
Yeah, thank you so much. I did it
Okay,
myself.
so in fact, I'm surely going to take a few screenshots from you so that later once the session is done, I drive. I try to build in a few nice story on maybe a few social media platforms. That's important because that is how we voice out and that is how we tell people. So this journey about foundational skills, foundational literacy and numeracy. So because we've been talking about NEP and you've already mentioned that it is not the first policy. In fact, it's not the first policy even in India.
Mhm.
Right. But this is for the first time. Now, this is there has to be some first. So let me bring out that some first over here. So this is for the first time ever in Indian history with any NEP, right? And it's an open platform. Everybody knows it, which has been backed by the NCFs, that is the curricular framework. It has never, ever happened. There were policies and they were left for the educators to think that how to implement, will it get implemented or not. Here, and another thing which is happening is because there's a platform called mygov.in where everybody, you, me, everybody who's listening to us and not listening to us, maybe the parents. So as a parent, as a teacher, as a school, you can go and tell all what we require is what I have understood of NEP. And when I revisit the draft, the first draft of NEP, which was around 440 pages before NEP 2020 came. So it is still open. They want at least 1,000 schools, minimum 1,000 to 3,000 schools as a sample size to agree to something or disagree to something. So this is for the first time that the people, those who are into the committees of policy making, they are waiting that in case you give us a sample size and you disagree to something with enough credentials, we are all here to listen. Things have started happening. There are few pilot schools who are into the phase, and more schools are in there. So let's talk about foundational now. So after setting the first things first. So now when we talk about foundational literacy and numeracy, we have to keep in mind the ECC, that is the Early Childhood Care and Education in India, and of course in the world. We have to keep in mind the various scholars. Now, when I talk about foundational FLN, for me, it's very important to begin with this statement that every child has a right to understand in the language which child understands. So the moment multilingualism says that it has its own challenges, I see there's practically lesser challenge. Why? Because till the time the child does it, we are natives of India. And like we learn English, we can learn any other language. So, even Sanskrit may be foreign to us. It's quite possible. So why do we say that? So when multilingualism was talked about in Foundation FLN, everybody said that, people are telling us to make it's an attack on medium. Oh God, please, it's not talking about medium at all. It just says once the child starts understanding, and probably till foundational years, that is up to grade 2, you can expose the child to any language as early, as late, when you feel the child has started understanding. So in Hindi, if I say बच्चे का अधिकार है उस भाषा में पढ़ना जिसमें उसको समझ आए, unless they don't comprehend what's the point of teaching them. Another thing which I'm going to talk about today is what are the competencies and how to bring out the learning outcomes. Why do we talk so much about skills? Now, it's again important for all of us to understand what is the approach to language and literacy and the numeracy. What are the pedagogies which we are going to talk about? What is the principle of a pedagogy? How the relationship between teacher and children is formed. Are we talking about stories, toys, music, art and craft? Is it only for a certain age? Can the story building go up to, or does it go up to higher education, so or in real life? Classroom environment and management of a class, how does it impact FLN altogether? Then what is the content? How to choose the content and set the context right for that particular learner and the teacher. So that's a pedagogical process. So what would be the TLNs? So there are lots and lots of books on ECC, and there are so many people coming into this sector. In fact, from this platform, I would definitely say that there's a whole big market, big industry. So those of you who wish to contribute to early learning, you must. So there's a lot of scope over there. And then assessment of learning, for learning, all those prepositions. But is assessment important? And if yes, what kind of learning objectives does it help identifying? And then, of course, there are a lot of things. We also have to keep in mind that there are some critical areas in FLN years we get to understand. That is the developmental delay and the disability, apart from the safety and security in the school. So now, having said, setting the, we are all setting the context. So even I've set the context for the FLN. It's important for me to speak with all of us over here when we talk about the NCF and when we talk about NEP and when we talk about a real school. So let's understand what is there in a real school. So in a real school, and there are different levels of schools, there are different kind of schools. There could be league schools. Oh, let me use this word. No, there could be league schools, where there's a certain set of fee, there are a certain set of parents and practitioners, those who are teaching, and the parents, there are schools which are there, like maybe I don't want to use the word budget or affordable schools, but that's the easiest way to understand. And then there are schools which are like Bal Vatikas and Anganwadis and schools which are trying to teach. When it is NCF, there's a limitation. I see that it is a guideline or it is a structure which is there similar for all. Now it is for all of us to understand that what kind of audience or what kind of parents or what kind of people are we catering to. And I'm sure all of us present over here will have our point of views. Like I can see Rima ma'am from Army Public School. Now Army Public Schools or Army schools are those schools where children like officers wards, the children of soldiers wards, the children, in case the school permits, a few children from the civil, that is how we say they study together. And the best thing about Army schools are that, everybody, so there's no discrimination. Even we follow the Sarva Dharam Sthal over there and everything is like that. So the setup in an Army school, public school, or a setup in a sort of a KV, or a setup in a school where Abhishek sir comes from, maybe an amity school, which could be a school which probably, I do not know the fee structures, probably could be charging on a higher side, or maybe a school which really charge. So the setup would be different, the expectation would be different, and the delivery would be different. So even the pedagogical processes would be different. Now, what happens in a classroom? The child is aware of the background. Let me be very clear over here. When we say, बच्चे को नहीं पता क्या महंगा सस्ता है, क्या बड़ा छोटा है, the child is fully aware. So in this generation, the child understands all. So the social emotional learning in the class is to be very, very powerful. The child understands. There's a lot of cognitive ability with the child. So in fact, even for the youth, I keep talking to the parents. I'll just say a statement over here when parents tell me, no, that बच्चे को अपने भविष्य की चिंता नहीं है. I say, no, you're wrong. बच्चे को बहुत भविष्य की चिंता है. The only thing is what the child thinks is not able to put in the words and share it to you and convince you. Right? उसको एक startup करना है, but you as a middle class parent or an upper middle class parent, you want the child to get into a proper, पहले safe सरकारी नौकरी लो. Right, get into a safe job or a white collar job, and ये सारी चीजें तुम्हारी बहुत चीजें fancy हैं, बाद में होती रहेंगी. So the child is not able to communicate it to you. So everybody is worried about the future. So ये statement तो नहीं चलेगा, मतलब at least. So when a child comes to the school, so the child is aware. We've seen children going back to home and saying, I want that pencil box, I want that tiffin box, I want that bag. So the awareness, from where does it come? Of course, there are so many things. Even parents are making children aware. They take them across. Children know that their parents have certain affordable, they can buy. The children know it very, very clearly. Now, at home, when the child is up to 3 years of age, that is the primary learning which is happening. माँ के गर्भ के बाद when the primary learning is happening. Right. So that you can also let me know in the chat box how much time do I have to speak so that everybody gets enough time. I don't want to take up all the time because this is a topic very close to me and I've been working so much onto it. Right. Now, so then here something very beautiful is happening. It has yet not happened. In fact, I was expecting it should have happened by now. 2020 NEP either, but maybe there's work going on. So MWCD, that is Ministry of Women and Child Development, they are trying to create some high quality, they use the word high quality content and guidelines for the practices which should happen for between mother and child or the parent and child between 0 to 3 years of age. Well, our journey of school educator begins from 3 years of age, where a child comes and we start contributing up to grades 2, and we are specifically talking about the FNN years. So what is very important is, it's very important apart from the sitting hours where we have to go groom, I'll not use the word tame, though we are taming many a times. So when we have to groom the child into, how long the child can sit, the habit formation, right? So completing a task, overall forming of good all habits, those kind of things. We also have to start teaching the skills. See, everything is a skill in foundational years and early years. The fine motor skills, the gross motor. Fine motor skills are the skills which the children do with, right? So when we talk about eye-hand coordination, we talk about sensorial skills, we talk about everything is a skill. The gross motor skills, even the larger muscles are the skills. Unfortunately or fortunately, I talk about subjects, but the innate abilities of the child have to be nurtured. That is the curiosity. That is the creativity, that is the critical thinking, the teamwork and cooperation, the social interaction, the empathy, compassion, inclusivity, diversity. Children have to work in the world is a global village for this generation. They are already biliterates. They understand technology and the language. So the communication has to be of a different way. The cultural appreciation. So, there are children studying from different, so there could be expats studying in the same school. That's quite a possibility. The kind of social interactions they have, the kind of expectations they have. So we have to teach all those things in the school apart from literacy and numeracy. But that literacy and numeracy forms the basic skeleton for anything to happen. So if we talk about the evolution of human beings, so once the evolution happened, then the caveman was writing or drawing pictures, and then the language or something was created. And of course, now the technology is the language. So there are things which evolve and change. Similarly, we have to keep in mind that we should not intimidate the learner with the learning. So the happiness framework has to be kept in mind, and which the FLN talks about a lot. It says, so if the happiness framework is not there, only the syllabi completion is there, that's a big, big challenge. We are never going to actually help. So the learner at all. In fact, once we intimidate the child, by the time the child is in grade 2, and this is also for the parents, we as educators also have to educate the parents, because most of the parents, what they do is till grade 5, I think everybody can agree over here, till they can handle their child by themselves largely. So they'll keep telling the teacher, telling the school, do like this, do like this. वो उसको 5 का table आ गया. My child does not know up to 5 का table. So they'll keep guiding what to do. So we as professionals, just to keep the customer happy. Now, who's the customer? The parent, because they are the. So we start probably, if not, listening to them or indirectly listening to them, we stop guiding them what is right. So we as teachers and schools also have a responsibility to guide the parents, that this is the right thing for your child. This is not the right thing. Let it happen if it is happening somewhere, right? But if we are doing, so that responsibility of being a professional. So that is where the teachers' capacity building will start coming. Most of the teachers, there are 3 varieties. I am very, very clear with this. Some teachers are passionate. They want to be a teacher. And I'm not talking about early learner or a kindergarten teacher. I'm talking about teacher, general. Some teachers are teachers because they were pushed into it because they couldn't find anything else. Let me be very clear. I, as a Fauji wife, probably wouldn't have been into education had it not been pushed on me years ago, because that was the easiest thing to do. I need to work. So I'm in a cantonment area and I have certain skills. Okay, so I go into a school and start teaching. Right.
Oh, yes, yeah. I think, yeah, now we will probably continue this conversation, but like half of the time.
Then I'll conclude and hand it over. Now what happens is, and a few teachers, they are there in between. My FLN says, the NEP says, whatever time you are, even if you are there for a year, understand your responsibility, understand the learning, understand the pedagogical processes, and deliver. So that is one of the goal. In fact, that is one of the goal, and that is why we say that the teacher is pivotal. Having said that, there's so many things we are going to speak. I would like to listen to everyone. So that what quality of stimulation, support, nurturing is required, and what detrimental effects are there for overall development of the child. So all to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am. Like, although I don't want to, kind of stop and listen to it all, but I have been continuously getting feedback from my audience that we generally overshoot. So we will request all the other panel members to kind of, keep a tab on time as well. And we will start with the first sub-theme of today, which is, oh, yes, I forgot this. I totally forgot. I'll just take a couple of minutes. So since this is specific session is on, foundational gaps. So there are few features that we have launched, and I wanted to do it in the session itself. The team has worked really hard to time it, so we can do the launch in the session. And based on the feedback from our users, our educators, we have added image support because, for younger kids, that visuals are very important to associate, the learning with their real life thing, right? So we have added image support in the questions. We have also added image support in the options. And we have added another type of question like true and false. So it's more interactive and they can just swipe it, wherever, like whatever is the correct answer. So this one is really fun. And we've got one more thing. And that is our
let's listen and
sound support also.
Listen to the conversation between Alok and his father
but because of the scarcity of time, I'll not play the whole audio. But I think you get it. Like we have put the audio support also, so this will help in listening comprehension. So students can listen and then answer the questions. And big thanks to Srishti ma'am and Asnaha ma'am for helping us prioritize these features. I mean, there is so much to build, and we have a small team, so we have to do that prioritization. And the insights from Srishti ma'am and Asnaha ma'am did help us in kind of do that prioritization. And with that, let us start with our first sub theme, which is understanding foundational skills. And for that, I would like to invite Reema ma'am. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes. Thank you, Shweta, for having me here on your panel. Well, to begin with, we'll try and understand what exactly are foundational skills first. Foundational skills for students refer to the basic competencies that form the groundwork for all future learning and personal development. These skills help the students to understand, engage with, and process information in various subjects in everyday life situations. And without these basic skills, it becomes very difficult for our children to grasp even the more complex concepts and ideas. In a nutshell, I would say that foundational skills are the building blocks. As a structure is only as strong as its base, a student's successful future is built upon a solid foundation of essential skills that support all higher learning. And this reminds me of a few lines, like roots that ground the tallest tree. These skills shape who we strive to be. Each step, each lesson, brick by brick, they form the base, both strong and thick. With sturdy roots, we rise and soar, prepared to learn, to dream, and more. Now, after a brief understanding of what exactly are foundational skills, we will now move on to the next aspect, which is already visible to you on the screen, that what are the essential components of foundational skills. Now, the first one is literacy and numeracy. I'll deal with it in the next slide. So next one, the third one is critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Now, what exactly are they? They are the skills which help us to analyze the information, make decisions, solve problems, and to think logically. The next that we come upon is social and emotional skills. Being able to understand our own emotions and others' feelings comes under self-awareness and empathy. The next one is the child should be able to work effectively with others, should be able to express the thoughts clearly. The next important thing is the ability to cope with challenges and to adjust to new situations, which again is very important. Digital literacy, it is very important in the current scenario. A child should be digitally literate, should know how to use the digital tools. The other thing that I haven't mentioned here, and which exactly is required nowadays, is the time management skills. Being able to manage your tasks, focus the attention, the ability to set goals, plan, and then follow through those tasks. Now, the next two slides, I'll concentrate on the literacy skills and the numeracy skills. Now, when we talk about literacy skills, they are basically your LSRW skills, which I'm sure all the language teachers would be aware of. So listening and speaking are basically your oral language development skills, the ability to understand the spoken language, to communicate ideas effectively. When we talk about reading, it includes the ability to decode, understand the relationship between the symbols and the sounds, being able to comprehend and interpret the written text, to read the text with accuracy, speed, expression, and proper voice modulation, which also is very important. The next skill that we come upon under literacy, or that we cover under literacy, is your writing skills. Being able to express the ideas clearly in written form, which includes your grammar, sentence structure, and spelling. When we talk of numeracy skills, the child is expected to have basic arithmetic skills. Does the child understand numbers? Can the child perform operations, which are your basic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? Can a child use these concepts to solve problems which are related to day-to-day activities? Is the child able to identify the simple patterns? Can the child interpret the data? Can he apply these concepts to real-world problems? That is the requirement in the current scenario. Now, if we move on to some on-ground reality, there are some alarming current statistics which will be visible to you on your screen. I request, yes, it's visible now. Now, according to the stats which are available, the ACER 2022 reports and the ACER 2023 reports, we find that there are a lot of learning deficits. Now, over 70% of the students in class 3 struggle to read even a simple sentence or perform basic arithmetic operations such as subtraction. By class 5, around 50% of the students still cannot read a text which is designed for class 2. Just imagine, class 2, indicating significant gaps in literacy. ACER 2023 would be covered by our next panel expert, but it would also very clearly show how these learning deficits are being, or they are reflecting even in the middle and the senior wing students. They cover the age group of 14 to 16 years. Now, what are the implications of these statistics? What is this learning deficit actually leading to? This is affecting our children, the future generation. The children are struggling to grasp more complex concepts in higher grades. The gaps are widening, making it harder for them to meet curriculum expectations and ultimately affecting their confidence and engagement with learning. It is leading to increase in the dropout rates, and even failure to address these gaps could actually derail the broader educational reforms and prevent the students from acquiring the 21st century skills. Children from marginalized communities are often disproportionately affected by these learning gaps, which is increasing the inequality further. Poor FLN in early years, it reduces the likelihood that students will acquire the necessary qualifications for even well-paying and stable jobs. Let me share a real-life example that highlights the transformative power of addressing foundational literacy skills early on. Now, in grade 4, a child named Arjun, he was struggling in the class. He had difficulty reading even simple texts and could not keep up with his classmates at all during lessons. Even basic simple concepts like multiplication, reading comprehension, sentence formation was becoming impossible for him. The lessons became complex, his confidence took a hit, and he began to withdraw. And what was the fear in his mind? That he would never catch up. His teachers and his parents initially thought that he just needed to try harder. Arjun, try harder. What is the problem? But did we actually go into the depth and try and find out what was the problem? Well, the gap was foundational skills. Arjun had missed some critical milestones in reading and comprehension. And after a careful assessment, the teacher, along with the parents, they started working on the basics. And with months of consistent support, there was a remarkable improvement in Arjun's performance. And this transformation was a testament to how targeted attention to foundational literacy can actually change a child's academic trajectory, which is the need of the hour. Now, recognizing the importance of early learning, NEP 2020 positions FLN as a non-negotiable goal for the country's education system, recognizing that without these foundational skills, students are going to struggle in all future learning. The policy therefore clearly outlines a comprehensive framework, which involves your curriculum changes, your assessments, your teacher trainings, and community involvement to achieve this critical objective. The National Education Policy, it sets 2026-27 as a target year for achieving universal foundational literacy and numeracy at the primary level. Now, this target of 2026 is seen as ambitious, but it is achievable to turn the tide on this crisis. And that's possible if we all hold on to it together. The timeline also aligns with the international commitments, which includes your SDG 4 goal, which calls for quality education and which should be completed by 2030. Now, it is the need of the hour. We need to step up our collective efforts on this front, as any delay would have long-term effects. Imagine the effect of weak foundational skills snowballing into negative impact on the economic output and growth of our country. Now, research shows that a more skilled workforce enhances productivity, leading to higher GDP growth. The World Bank estimates that increasing the educational attainment by even 1 year can boost a country's GDP growth by up to 0.37% annually. Just imagine. And according to estimates, if India improves its learning outcome to match those of countries like South Korea or Finland, it could probably see a GDP increase by about 4 to 5% annually over time. The World Economic Forum has highlighted that countries with better foundational education systems are more likely to develop high-value industries that drive economic expansion. Now, according to further research, students who master the foundational skills early are more likely to achieve better academic results in later grades, which ultimately helps them to get entry into good colleges, universities, and even vocational training programs. It goes without saying that an educated population is the strongest defense against poverty and underdevelopment. And it's through education that India will realize its potential as a global leader. And it's our responsibility, I'm sure everybody understands, that as citizens, educators, parents, and leaders, we need to ensure that every child has the opportunity to succeed. And in doing so, we in turn are contributing to a strong, more prosperous, and self-sufficient India. We need to understand that education is more than a right. It is a duty that we owe to our nation. So what are we waiting for? Let's all join hands and be a part of this mission. I'd like to close with a few lines. On the shoulders of teachers, the future lies. In every child's heart, the spark must rise. With pens as our weapons and books as our shields, we nurture the wisdom that the future yields. Foundations of learning we must lay with care, for the dreams of tomorrow are crafted there. In numbers and letters, their power we unlock to shape a nation as steady as rock. That's all from my side, Shweta. Thank you so much. I now hand over the stage to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rima ma'am. That was so beautiful and poetic. I think this art and poetry kind of runs into APS Shankar Vihar. Like my interactions with Neha ma'am, Namrita ma'am have been like similar. So, but yeah, it does kind of, make you feel things more, right? So
It was very well said, Rima ma'am. Very well said.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
yes, and with that, I would like to invite our next expert, Pooja Sikarwar, who's headmistress at the International School Agra. Just had an opportunity to meet her in my latest Agra visit. So thank you, ma'am, for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Thank you so much. I'm feeling so proud to be here on this platform because people here are really, I just put my bow down to them. Sapna ma'am and Rima ma'am. Rima ma'am, I'm connecting to you because I was in army school for 18 years and I'd been to Shankar Vihar thrice for a workshop, So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
We
It
must
was,
connect.
yeah.
We
I'm
must-
connecting because half of my life experience in teaching has been in army school because 18 years of, working in army school as a teacher. And then I worked at various platforms like Goenka and now private school. So there's a haywire difference between the schools which I've worked for, but army school is somewhere I'm connecting, like, and seriously, Sapna ma'am spoke so well and both of them have covered most of the topics. So I don't know where to start with. Congratulations to Shweta and team. I can see that you have covered all the areas, but Neo is actually working so hard and they are doing so good. So what is this foundational gap? Actually, I sensed almost 2 years of crucial foundational learning had been virtual for these students. But during this course of time, most of the students were struggling to learn things. I'm talking about the COVID time because that time we were working online. The gaps were not strongly visible in the virtual classes when we were taking the virtual classes, but as soon as they entered the physical classes, I felt that these gaps were evidently visible and required attention. And that was a very bad phase. As we are talking about the data of facts and fundas we are taking. So we have seen that ESSER has taken a data in which it is clearly shown that in 2012, the data of reading of grade 3 child and doing the subtraction part was 20% to 21%, and it kept increasing till 2018. But after that, when COVID came, in 2020, it drastically fell down and it came to 20%. Now, let's talk about few things like what is the foundational gap we are actually facing with the kids because we are dealing with primary and pre-primary kids. So I've seen that they are finding difficult to read various sentences, and their basic problem arises that they have very limited vocabulary. Because when I was teaching in army school, we have a vast kind of students with us, officer children, then ORs and JCOs and everybody. But we have to deal them with the equal kind of same way we are dealing them. So some limited vocabulary affecting their language proficiency. They are not able to write long sentences. In mathematics, if we are talking about, I've seen that the most difficult area which they are feeling is the decimal in the fraction part. And still I'm just feeling that when I'm going to classes to check what they are doing and I'm asking them what is, like if I'm writing a fraction 2 by 3 or 4 by 5 and I'm asking them which is greater, they're not able to answer it, right? So these are the basic foundational gaps which actually has 2 years of gap which they have gone through is really a serious stage to see. So what I'm going to tell you about is my personal experience and what we are actually doing in our school to get over things. And we're trying to do things like, first thing is we are prioritizing what they know. So to start with a new topic or any content, we just try to find out what they know actually and what is the percent of students, like what 60% of students are ready to take the new chapter or not. So if 60 to 65% of students are ready to take what we are teaching them, then it's fine. But if not, then we have to recheck like where to start with. So now we all know that NEP has changed a lot of things, and they're working on infrastructure, they're working with the worksheets, they're working with activity based teaching, then CSWN students. So we have to keep in mind that what are our priorities. So the priority comes with, like, for example, my personal experience. I'm teaching EVS where I'm working as headmistress also. So I went to the class one day and I just told my students that today our chapter is plants around us. They said we know everything. There's nothing to teach us. So I said, okay, fine. Let's see that if I can gain something from you, and let's take a round of the school. And we went out of the class, and we had a very nice experience of just exploring plants and types. And you won't believe that when we came back in the class, and I had a discussion with the students, they were actually knowing each and everything. So when we are doing it on activity-based kind of teaching, they find it more interesting, and they take interest in spite of teaching them, giving just lectures and all. So their previous knowledge and the knowledge which we have to give should have some connectivity. The second thing is, what we are doing, that assessment part. NEP has just focused on a 360-degree multi-dimensional report card, which is showing that it is not important for a child to take academically participation in every area. It should be an overall development of the child, which is we are dealing with it nowadays, because I've seen that report cards are showing every ability of the child, and skills are basically we are working on. So this approach is working. Then second is, let's break the content down into smaller fractions instead of teaching them at a stretch a long part. Like, for example, first we have to start with a easy topic, an interesting one. So once you gain the attention of the class, then you go to proceed to the next part, and you have to just break that content into smaller fractions. This modular approach to teaching always help teachers to plan their time effectively throughout the year. And in between, we can use some activities. At times, we have to change our way of teaching in the classes. Then in the last session of NEO, I've seen that they're working so good, and you must have seen that the way they're working, the feedback from the parents which is coming, and they're so happy. Even teachers are so happy, because this is the platform who's working for teachers also a lot. Because in our many of our programs, we have seen that everybody's coming and telling teachers, do this, do that, do this, do that. But NEO is taking care of the teachers also, that how much work they can afford and how much work they can do in a day. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, after breaking the content into smaller parts, the next thing is focusing on the essential skills. Now, I hope you all know that we are working on SEL and we are working on LAF. So we are dealing with LAF a lot, like love, appreciation, and fun in the classes. Because when a child is coming closer to you, the child is able to express everything. We have to give time to children in spite of speaking all the time. So we have given certain worksheets, activities, and making a platform, introductions and all. And then we go to the actual topic. This gives positive impact which lasts longer. If a child is memorizing a thing by understanding on its own, it is for a longer period of time, right? And then track and maintain the records of the child in progression, which is we all are doing, I hope, because assessment is NEP is also saying that attention of a child and evaluation of child depends person to person and interest to interest. So individual regular classroom assessment as a critical part of teaching and learning helps teachers to modify their teaching. I have seen that at times a child is very good at answering question verbally when we are talking about it, but when you say just write it down, the child is unable to do that. So we have to just learn four skills of English, like reading, writing, speaking. So sometimes children are not good at writing, but they speak so well. So we have to see the assessment part that way also. Identifying where children are further supports in addressing the area of focus using different strategies. And after this, I would like to just, I will not speak so much because so many experts are sitting here. So I would like to just brief it. Final thing is, it should be a collaboration. Like now we are calling it, in spite of calling it PTM, we are calling it SPTM, because, when a parent is in the circle, right, with the child and the teacher, things are, better. For example, like if I just call the parents and tell them that your child is not good in maths, it will not solve the problem. I have to tell where and what in maths your child is not able to understand. So we have to be very crystal clear with the parents to tell them yet that your son is very good in all the subjects, but only part is maths, and in maths only fraction part is not able to understand. So let's work with the fractions with the child. So parents are very clear about, okay, fine, my child is not good in fraction, so let's start with that only. So parents when they will be in with the child and the teacher, it will be a very good thing. Like circle time we are doing with the students nowadays. So it is like, when we are in touch with everybody, let's give a chance to speak on everyone. So seeking parental collaboration to support learning. Once you identify the gap, discuss in it, detail with the parents, we'll see the results very nicely. So I hope I have covered a few things, maybe some are missed, but thank you so much, Shweta, for bringing me on the platform. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, Pooja ma'am. So on this note, I would also like to share with our experts and as well as our audience few things that we have done to kind of identify some common foundation gaps. So we have started this Voice of Educator series, wherein instead of us or the experts talking, we encourage educators to kind of come on stage, and we do some brainstorming activities, we do some visual charts organization to understand that across grades, across subjects, what are such common foundational gaps, because they also keep changing generation by generation. So we did this exercise, and we have also got like a lot of responses. So for example, Nupur ma'am told she's in class 3 and she teaches grade 3 and 4, and adjectives and prepositions. Then for maths, decimal, fractions, place values. Then again for maths, comprehending and solving word problems, basic arithmetic, and again fractions. So fraction is something that kind of keep coming back. And then we also did some polls in our WhatsApp communities, where we could clearly see that the reading comprehension part was like everyone was struggling. Like teachers are like, the students are just not understanding what they are reading. They're just reading it out, but not comprehending that what they have just said. And I'll just quickly share one, personal experiment that we did out of curiosity in the initial days of NEO. So we went to a park, and there were a lot of students, and we made them read a very small passage from Mahabharata in English, and they read it. They read it very nicely, with all nice accent, the Gen Z accent. And then when we asked questions from it, they didn't know the answer. So that is what the stage we are. And we recently did a kind of session with Snaha ma'am also on science of reading. It's a very, very insightful session. Going in depth might be out of the scope of this specific session, but those who are interested, they can watch it. It will be made available. The full video would be made available to all the attendees of this session. So here is just a quick summary of the foundation gaps that we figured out at NEO. Top 3 for literacy and top 3 for numeracy. Comprehension, clear winner, and then inability to write coherent paragraphs, and then limited vocabulary, which affects the overall language proficiency. And then in numeracy, we had fractions, decimals, word problems, then applying the concepts to real world scenarios, and spatial reasoning and geometric understanding. And I think rest of the things Pooja ma'am have covered in her this thing. The questions, these diagnostic questions they're very different. They're not like, the general questions. They have to be non-leading, and there are a whole lot of other guidelines that needs to be taken care of when you specifically want to diagnosis. And then if you want to kind of support the learning, then they would be different. If you want to kind of stoke the curiosity, make them, prepare them for an upcoming session, then the type of questions would be different. So taking care of the type of question is very important. And what works best is a balanced combination of formative and summative, and the intervals should be short, and it should happen consistently. This is something that I really want to kind of share. In the recent interview with Asnaha ma'am also, she said one line, connection before correction, and it's so true. I mean, you all know that the students generally excel in the subject where they have their favorite teacher. So the role of teacher in all this, I think, while there are a lot of roles, I know like so many things the teachers, the educators have to do, but one very important role is to make this experience nice for the students. The students should find it fun. They should enjoy. They should not fear diagnosis or assessments. So that is something very, very important. Connecting with the students and making them feel that it is an opportunity to kind of improve, something that they look forward to. And the last thing is the involvement of parent and community, which Pooja ma'am has already kind of covered. So with that, let's move to the next sub-theme, which is adapting the FLN questions for different stages. Now we have established that, okay, foundation skills are very important. And we also saw that, what could be the methods of diagnosing these. And now, how do we do it for middle and secondary? How do we adapt these questions? You cannot ask a grade 2 question to a grade 10 student. Like, he will not enjoy it and he'll get bored and drop. So for this, I would like to kind of invite Najma ma'am, principal at Gitanjali School, Hyderabad. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity and bringing all those experts on this panel. And I'm very happy here, and I'm very happy to share my opinion and my views also on this topic. And let me go on. First of all, let me just tell you the word adaptation. Adaptation, it is like something where we are looking for the needs of the students in a classroom. Right? Adaptation, when you call, it is like better suited for the child. What is suitable for the child? This is adaptation. The need for adaptation is really, really, really very important. Why? Because when I talk about any class, I just say this is grade 4, this is grade 5, this is grade 6. We just give them a name. But in that classroom, we have different levels of learners. We have just the beginners. We have some of them are above average, some of them outstanding, some of them slow learners. we teachers, we give them these titles, right? We are the ones, we are telling them, yes, this child is a slow learner. This child is above average. This child is outstanding. We look for outstanding students in a different way, and we are like, yes, this child can do, and he needs something really, challenging. But we do have slow learners. So what we have to do is, when these slow learners in the classroom, they really need our attention. Slow learners, we have just put them in that category because what I feel is their basic skills are not built upon in a right way. Probably maybe they were missing something when they were in the lower grades. So their skills were not built upon that strong that they need to be in that particular grade. Right. So what we have to do is, as educators, as teachers, we need to find out where is the gap. What is the child missing? It's not that we just call them as slow learners. Yes, we did call them as slow learners, but how can we build, how can we make them at least average or above average? We can do, yes. So for that, we have to find out where is the gap. Where is the gap? So we need to give them a kind of, sometimes in schools, like in our school, we give them like, a kind of test where we do continuous evaluation. We keep checking what is the gap? Where is the gap this particular child is missing? Probably maybe reading. He's very good at understanding. His comprehension skills are really good. He understands well. He can answer the questions verbally. But when it comes to writing, he finds it very difficult. There are some kids, they can just understand really well. They can read well. But again, when it comes to the writing part, they are missing something. That means they did not get the writing part, that they are lacking there. So what we have to do is, of course, we are having kind of different kinds of evaluations. So now what I will do is, I'm really just going to focus on, foundational literacy and numeracy, what kind of questions we can build on to cover up these gaps, right? So first one is like, when as students progress in their educational journey, it's very essential for foundational literacy and numeracy questions, because even NEP is focusing on that more. And if NEP is telling us that you need to encourage the students to teach them to learn how to learn. That is one of the things that NEP is really focusing on. It is telling us, teach the children, let them learn how to learn. It is not like you just give them the book and you tell them, go on. They will not. But you need to teach them how to learn. So your first thing is, you really focus on the cognitive development of the child. It's very important. Is the cognitive development, did the child learn what, like maybe the child is in grade 2. And if I ask the child to do a kind of word problem, that is the complexity level of that problem is really higher than the cognitive level of the child. Of course, the child will not be able to do. So I cannot tell that this child is not, the child is slow learner, or child doesn't know how to do it. No, I did not frame the question properly because I did not check what is the cognitive level of that particular child. And every grade has certain standards that are set by NEP. So when we are framing our questions, when we are preparing, so we are keeping all these things in our mind, right? So when we are working on when we check the cognitive development of the questions, like a 6-year-old, if I give a question that is suitable to a 10-year-old, a 10-year-old student, it is not going to stimulate a 6-year-old child. He will not like it. He or she will not like it. They will not even try to attempt, because this is something going above their head, right? So what is it is like, you have to frame the questions to check the learning gap in such a way that they suit their level. Where, like if I talk about grade 1 to 3, I can go for questions like where they can recall, where they have, simple problem solving skills, where they can just use their knowledge, what they have, and then try to solve the problems, right? And then the questions that you're framing, it should prevent stagnation. There's something called as preventing stagnation. Preventing stagnation is something, it's a very simple word where, sometimes it so happens that we do use WH questions, right? All the questions I keep asking on what happened, what did the child do, what? No, it is not going, it is just going to stop their thinking. They will just think from the point of view of what. So there are the rest of the WH questions. We have what, where, when, how, why. All these kinds of questions you need to put in your question paper that you're going to give it to the child to check their understanding, where it will give them an opportunity to think in different ways, right? So I think when the teachers are working on preparing their question papers, assessments and everything, they have to keep these things in their mind and always go from known to the abstract things. Because, when you start your questions from known, the child builds a kind of confidence, right? Yes, I could do it. So I can go a little higher. I can go a little higher. So it is like, you should build upon anything. It should be from known to an abstract thing. So that will give, as I said, they will have some kind of confidence, a kind of feeling that, yes, I could do it and I can go higher. So always teachers should keep in mind that we are building from known to an abstract thing. And as I said, that NEP is really focusing on foundational skills of literacy and numeracy after COVID, after the pandemic. I'm pretty sure all the schools had a big difficulty in, accommodating the students in the same class, because we had different levels. We had very different levels. A grade 1 child could not understand the phonic sounds, whereas the standards that are required in grade 1 are he or she should be ready to read simple sentences. So that was the big learning gap that we had. So now, as we have started working and we are really focusing along with NEP and all those things, I'm pretty sure that schools have really built up, and they are trying to cover up this gap. And next is, as I said, it should be age appropriate. Whatever we are doing in the class, it should be age appropriate, challenging, and giving a platform for the children to discover and learn. It is not like you are just giving whatever you're teaching in the class. It is something like, yes, this is what I taught and this is what you learn. No, give them an opportunity to discover and learn. Right? So whatever the questions that you're preparing should be age appropriate, and it should be more challenging. First of all, it should be really challenging to the children, where they think wide, and they try to put as much as a lot of effort to discover their own abilities and then answer the question. That doesn't mean that you make the question really simple, very simple, where the child is just answering in yes or no. And then, that means you're still making them remain in the same place where they were, because you did not give them a challenging thing, right? So age appropriate modification is very required. Like, if it comes to the early years, like grade 1, 2, and 3, we can say, who was the main character in the story? What did the boy do when he went inside the garden? What did he find? Different questions. Yes, the child has to discover and the child has to find out the answer. So these are some of the things that educators have to keep in mind when they are preparing for the questions, to check the child's understanding, and to check if the child if you have achieved your goal. That was my goal. When I was preparing a question, I do have a certain goal and I want to achieve it. Did the child do it? Yes. And then when it comes to integrating with subject-specific learning, see, I'm sure we all know about STEM. It's no more STEM, it is STEAM. We have science, technology, English, art, and mathematics. We need to integrate, yes, the child is good and his language skills are good. We can very well test him through language. What is his numeric skill? How much does he understand mathematics skills also through language? Like in physics, there are a lot of mathematic things that they are applying. Right, so we need to integrate with subject-specific learning. All these subjects, we can very well integrate it through project approach. We can very well go with differentiated instruction. We can go with guided learning, all these things, and we can integrate subjects with each other, right? And also, we have like, you want to assess numeracy. It's not only that the child should know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, of course, the child should know the language better to understand numerical questions. Right? So somehow or the other, all the subjects are interrelated. So we have to keep that in our mind. Then comes balancing the complexity and the core skills. Yes, of course. As I told you, the government has given us set standards in a particular grade that you have to achieve. These are common core standards that you have every grade you have to achieve. So what happens is, you need to have, every question will not, a single question will not suit all the students in the class. You need to build that question in a different way, where every child can answer. Probably the children who are really outstanding, they will easily understand. But when it comes to the slow learner, if you frame the question in an easy way, it's the same concept that you are testing, and in a different way, the slow learners will be easily able to answer the question. That means you have achieved your objective. Right? My objective probably maybe in mathematics, it was like 4 + 6. Yes, it is 10. I can easily give a direct question to a slow learner. But for the children who are really answering, I can very well put it in a sentence where they learn, they try to understand, and then they try to solve. Right? So this becomes, the complexity of the question that you're preparing, the way you're putting up to the students is very important. Slow learners, yes, you really have to take care of them. Never tell them, yes, I am telling slow learners, but very well we can bring them up. We can bring them to the average level. Then they can be outstanding very soon if we fill up these gaps that they have. And when you talk about maintaining of the focus, when you're focusing on the core skills, you need to keep that you need to keep in mind the foundation for advanced learning. Core skills like we have reading, we have writing, we have math, problem solving, etc. From, these are the bedrock upon which you are building upon the higher level. What do you call cognitive skills? We are building the cognitive skills based on these skills. So we have to work upon, first of all, it comes reading, then comes writing, then comes the comprehension skills. All these skills are to be made strong, to make them go, to bring that shift in them, to bring the shift very smoothly. Yes. And then we have yes, these days, we are talking about higher order thinking skills. Yes. HOTS question, every question paper, we are adding some higher order thinking question. For what? Just to make the children think the same concept in a different way, apply it to your real life and see, are we able to do it? Yes. Can I answer this question? Where they analyze it, they evaluate it, and then they are doing a kind of synthesis, and then they are trying to answer the question. So higher order thinking, bringing this skill in your FLN questions, it is very, very important. I hope, I'm pretty sure in most of the schools, they are doing it because HOTs are very, very important to check the child's understanding in the complexity level. Through HOTS is very easy. And when it comes to, we can also involve our own students in building questions. You can very well give a passage for them to read. They make their own questions and they are asking their friends in the same classroom, right? They are asking their peer, they're asking their friends. You can ask the higher grade students to build questions for their students who are in lower grades. So this will make them understand better. They are going to understand the concepts. They are going to master the concepts. And they will have that confidence that, yes, I did understand and I can do it. So when it comes to, giving the opportunity to the children in the same class, at times we find it very difficult giving opportunity to all of them in the class. But we can do it in different ways and in easy way. So this will help us cover the gap that we have and also build upon the required skills. Thank you so much, Shweta. It was really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Najma ma'am. So I'll just quickly wrap that how we can adapt the basic foundational numeracy and literacy questions for your middle and secondary grade students, right? So we saw that, we can integrate it with other subjects like science, social, to make it interesting. And then we can make it like higher order thinking questions. Like in last session, which was the Voice of Educator session. So Neha ma'am, who is the assessment in charge of Army Public School, she told something like, although she takes the secondary stage, okay, 9, 10, she's teaching 9 and 10. But she said that when I think about the foundational gaps, they're all like very, very basic. And when we think about, your core cognitive skills, your analytical skills, your reasoning skills, your data interpretation skills, they are all they take it from the foundations only. So we are just bringing an extra layer of some core cognitive skills, and that is how we can make it like really interesting. I'll just take a minute to kind of, give an example how simple reading comprehension. I took the example of reading comprehension because most of our educators told that this is the biggest gap. So this is a grade 3, reading comprehension question in Neo Assistant. So it has more vibrant pictures, and every slide has very less text. So just some 3-4 lines to support that image. And then the question is also very simple, like what action did Bhima take? So the what kind of question. But when we look at a grade 6 question, there the passage is a little bigger. We have just one image to help them kind of associate. And the language is a little more complex, if you are able to read it. But since, in the interest of time, I'll skip it. But here the questions are also like, what is the main idea? What does the passage compare Earth to? So we are bringing in, deriving the theme of the passage, comparison. So these kind of things. And when we finally go at, a grade 10 level, then your passage also becomes more complex, and the language becomes, you need a little more proficiency to comprehend this language. And then the questions are also deeper, like, which are asking to kind of, do analysis kind of thing of the passage. Like what's the inspiration, and exemplify, what happened like in the exploration. So these kind of adaptations can be made for different grades. And this point I really love, ma'am. How we can involve elder students to do the questions, which will reinforce their own thinking. So with that, we'll just move on to the last theme for today. So we saw that, okay, what is the importance of foundation? And then we saw that how it can be diagnosed, what kind of questions should be there for diagnosis, what are some common, your foundational gaps. And then we saw that how these questions can be adapted for middle and secondary grades. And finally, how you will bridge this gap. This is like the kind of nail, the final blow in the nail. So I would like to invite Abhishek sir and Veena ma'am for this. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for providing this opportunity to speak upon it. And yes, as a brief, because I come from a technical background, and all the esteemed panelists have talked about other things like how to find out this learning gap and why it is required. I would be focusing to connect it with how technology can work as an assistant in achieving those goals and finding out, the gaps, and as a solution. Means definitely once you found the gap. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
So finding out the solution for that. So the first thing, like if we talk about NEP or whatever we have discussed till now, the only practical solution here, it is say that personalized formative assessment. So that is very important.
Just one thing, Abhishek sir. We will keep it like short and sweet because we are kind of overshooting the time.
So quickly, I would like to go through this thing. So personalized formative assessment emphasize the NEP is emphasizing the personalization. And the basic thing, the problem comes from the teachers or the educators is we are catering a lot of students in a classroom. The average class size is 35 to 40 students in a class. So how to provide that much focus on each and every individual? So there, the actual problem comes because it's difficult to approach in a 30 or 40-minute session to each and every child. So there comes the role of technology, how we can associate and go hand in hand with the technology to achieve those goals. And definitely the NEO plays a good role in that. So if you can see here, if how the NEO assistant is working. So let me explain this. So if the student is performing the activity, so the very important role of this AI-based apps are, they are self-learning. So they improve with the time, right? So a student first performs the activity, it goes into the personalization engine. Automatically, the system understands how the child is performing, what are the areas where the problem is lying, and automatically it improves with the time. It understands and learns, and accordingly, the activity is formed to and pushed toward the child for the next session. So here you can see the activity is generated based on what a student has given as a response in previous assessment, and automatically the next time it would be more personalized as per the learning level of the student. And so here the load of the teacher will get reduced. So all those parts would be taken care by the assistant app. So here we are talking about new assistant, right? And actively the child can participate. I'll be coming on the gamification part also later on, how the child will get motivation to use this kind of app, right? So NEP, yeah. So if I talk about my experience with the new assistant, so once I got introduced with this application, immediately as a tech enthusiast, I started using by myself. Then I discussed with my management, and as a project, I implemented it in higher classes because they are used to of having using different types of application. So my experience was very good because I have given certain worksheet to my student, and immediately they responded, and I was able to get the insight where actually the learning gaps are, which particular topic they are lacking in, and how to proceed with that, how to overcome with that, and what kind of remediation plan I have to take care of. So these all things were there. So that was a very good experience. You can get immediate insight, immediate feedback. As soon as the child will submit the worksheet, you get the whole insight, how the child is performing, what is the class average performance, everything would be on your tips. So that helps a lot as an educator to find out the gap and making your own plan further, right? So this is how it is helping. Yeah. So here, if you see this, I would like to call Veena ma'am now to ponder upon on this slide.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Abhishek, and Agrawal ma'am for giving me share my views on this topic, that power of instant feedback and shuffle initiative strengths and limitations. To my topic, before I would like to share my experience with NEO also, because as it is related with feedback. So when I gave my feedback, two incidents I'll take. When I gave my feedback to Shweta, that Shweta, my subject is not added in your app. Immediately it was added, that is CSID and subjects, and I was very much happy, and thanks for that. Okay, because I can encourage my students to use it when subject will be there. So she added one advantage of feedback we all are knowing. And another, recently, I came back from DPS Society Human Development Workshop. There also every day, our director, HRDC director was taking feedback orally also, in the form of Google form also, because few may hesitate to speak out. So that form was there, and they were taking orally also in hall. We were MP hall. We are going, and their feedback was taken. What if in the first day a little, though everything was excellent, but a little problem, whatever we faced immediately, as it was informed, immediate action was taken, and next day we did not find that immediate solution was taken. So this is the advantage of feedback. We, as a parent, means when as we are communicating with students and parents, so the same thing applies here also. If parents and students will give feedback of the topics taught, or suppose they are using Neo app or any other app, so if feedback will be taken from students and teachers, it will be a great help for teachers, those who really wants to teach. It is not as duty, it should come from his or her soul inside, that yes, I want to improve my children, my students, wherever they are lacking. It should not be only that we all are knowing, few are doing it as duty, okay, but they will not be liking if feedback will be given wrong. But those who are really teaching by heart, definitely, and they are working for their students, definitely they will be, if they are getting some negative feedback also, so they will take it in constructive way, means they will try to overcome those situations. So that is the importance of feedback, as I gave you 2 examples. So it is enough. Similarly, in students, suppose Neo app is providing some features in it for worksheet and something else already they are doing, and if feedback will be given and immediately Neo app will be applied, those things will try to overcome those, so it will raise its points definitely, and it will increase its popularity also, so more it will be adopted by people. So that is one thing where that feedback is important. And I'll talk about gamification, that is also important. If you are teaching in very boring manner, okay, topic, this point I'll cover, you are teaching, you are going back, you are least bothered of taking feedback or what a student says, or whether they have understood or not. So it is not going to suit your job. So gamification nowadays, you will find many more, most of them. And when I was talking with Abhishek sir also, I raised this thing also. Gaming, if I say, so mostly in my class also, whether 11th, 12th, and if you go for engineering students, whomsoever, who ask them, little class also, boys takes more interest in gaming. You'll find very less students in gaming from girl side. Okay, if one example, I'm giving my example only. In my 32 years of career, right from immediately after graduation, computer subject, I was the first batch student, but I never played a single game, that I'm telling you. I'm developing software and other things I do, but I don't know, that interest I don't have in game. But boys are more interested in gaming. But if I talk about gaming here, so it should be related not only gaming, but fun related matter. Always when I raise any topic, a new topic I start, I tell my student 2 questions should arise in mind. Why this topic I learn, and how I'll be benefited by this topic. So if I take example, real life example, I have seen students are more interested. If you suppose in CS, Python, or any other subject, if you are taking examples of game, you'll find so many students are taking interest. From girl side also will be getting, but though ratio is less, but even then they are. So when I give project, I leave topic on them, that it should be of your choice and it should not be downloaded from net. It should be your own creation. Okay, so, and suppose for example, one day, simply the very first program, suppose I'll teach about multiplication. So simply I'll teach them for multiplication, they may not take interest. But as I raised that, write a program to calculate your pizza bill, number of pizza you ordered, number of burgers you ordered, and price of it, and you calculate total amount. Then while teaching, if else, I took like that, you are purchasing some game. Discount is offered. Calculate discount and net payable. Everyone's antenna raised. Okay, so
Right,
they
right.
were
And
very much.
Beena ma'am,
So
I just
we,
want to add one more thing here. I think a
yeah,
lot of our audience want to know about that the gamification is also like there are different types of gamification. There is good gamification, there is bad gamification, and certain gamification things work
I,
better for boys, and
yeah,
certain work better for girls also. So
yeah,
if you
ma'am, I
can,
would like to add points here as a gamification. If am I
yeah, yes, sir, Abhishek, sir, we can
So I would
quickly
like
add.
to take a point here. Just I will take a few seconds here. So
Mhm.
generally, sometimes it is misunderstood as gaming and gamification both are the same thing. I would like to ponder upon it. The gamification is slightly different from that. It's not just
yeah.
limited to playing the game. Here,
No,
gamification
no,
is
no. It is not so.
yeah. So gamification is something when we want to provide a platform where in a gamified manner we would be making our student and learner to understand, and it basically works on that reward based platform where whenever a child achieves a particular state, so that child is rewarded with certain streaks or something, as you can see in the screenshot as well, that make them understand and motivates them to involve more and more and to attract towards the
Yeah,
learning
as
process.
their
This is the
quiz and all this we have.
yeah.
That's why I took example of Abhishek sir. That's why I took example of pizza. It doesn't mean that, madam, that game. Just I gave some. It is, see, a general talk. Means
Yeah,
whenever we are teaching any topic, it should be means in enthusiastic way, and always some live example, real life example, and some fun related topic if you raise, so students are taking much more interest. That I mean to say here. Is it clear,
Right.
madam?
Yes, Beena ma'am, and I think we will quickly wrap now. Like Rima ma'am said,
Yeah,
one of the
now it
foundational
is,
skills is time
yeah,
management, and we have
shuffle
overshot by
initiative. Yes,
30 minutes. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
sure. Now final topic is shuffle initiative, which I would like to conclude by this topic, because shuffle, it is very nice initiative taken by CBSE to fill this gap of foundational gap. So we have seen many students, means even in class 11th also, few are very good, few are not doing even simple arithmetic. So shuffle is for that only. See, in two levels students are tested. That is one in for primary, after primary, and one is after middle. So earlier it was being taken in class for class 5 student and class 8 students. Now from this year onwards, it is assessed for class 6 students and for class 9 students. So though it is very good effort, but few things I would like to tell now. This year they are not including all students, and all schools are also not added in it, because everyone is not having the same infrastructure. Whatever it is required, that infrastructure they don't have. So that's why it is by taking few students, by assessing few students, you cannot make one judgment or one report. Okay, so that's why it is for NEO to take this chance, that if they will fill this gap, because everywhere we are not getting that infrastructure, but each and every parent, whether they are belonging to village or where, each and everyone is using smartphone. So if NEO gap will take that step, that they will provide this shuffle exam, and CBSE will allow, so this CBSE, if it will permit, and NEO will take this shuffle exam, each and every, because in each and every home they have smartphone. So each and every child will be to appear for this test, and CBSE will get the data. So it will be a good effort if NEO will go for it, and wishing you good luck. I'll end. Before ending, I would like to say, even then, few students, those who were being assessed, I have heard one student's query, it was, madam, will I get my report card for it? Means that child was afraid whether what I will perform and my parent will see my report. So I was thinking, I took time, and before responding, whether, see, why he is asking so. It is, I understood, because they were talking with, अरे report card नहीं आएगा, रहने देना, अरे जल्दी जल्दी opt कर और चल. It was like that for few students. And if I say, yes, your parent will come to know about your scoring and all this, though I didn't tell, but if then I said, your school will be graded as per your performance. What do you want? Your school should go in higher or lower rank. So that time they understood and took it seriously. So this way, now as since last few years, I'm involved in Safal also. So I have seen this kind of students' response also. So whatever suggestion I have given, I hope it will be helpful for Shweta and your Ms. Agrawal madam. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beena ma'am. So, what Safal is doing, you can do it every day with just, 2, 3 single taps. It takes less than 30 seconds. Trust me, it just takes them less than 30 seconds to send a personalized formative worksheet to your students with the help of Neo, like Abhishek sir and Veena ma'am shared their experience also. And all the screenshots that you saw in the presentation, those were all from the Neo's app itself. So how good gamification have been implemented, right? They are not kind of pushed to compete with each other, but students are made to compete with themselves. So there are streaks, there are goals, there is progress that they see, there is personalized quests, there is special bounty on certain important concepts, so the foundational concepts which are more important, which might be required for further concepts in their learning journey, they are given more weightage. So it's a positive sum game, it's not a negative sum game. If one student is doing well, then the other student's rank goes down. It's not like that. The leaderboards are also balanced, there is personal progress that the students can see, and even the power of instant feedback that we kind of saw, like the feedback also, there are very specific things about feedback when we give feedback to anyone. So it has to be constructive, encouraging, it has to be very relevant and specific. Specificity is very important, like Pooja ma'am also told, right? It should not be like how your student is not doing good in maths. You have to tell, okay, maths mein which chapter, and in that chapter which concept, and is there any foundational gap that is leading to weak performance in this specific concept. So that drill down insight, if you are able to give to students, to the parents, then it will be very easy for them to take action, right? Otherwise, if they know ki theek hai, maths mein kam hai, then they won't know where to start. And that's why parents say that education system is not transparent. They want to help their students, but they just don't know where to start from. But here, all that is taken care of in NEO. The correct explanations are also given, and there is actionable feedback. So after feedback, it also gives a remediation revision as well to the students. So all this you can try it out on your own. The link is in your chat. And one last feature, I just saved the best one for the last. This is very, very important. It is going to kind of change the whole education edtech industry right now. This specific feature is something that if you have sent one worksheet of any chapter, so all your chapters and subtopics are already there, the questions automatically get generated. And if you have sent one worksheet for your chapter, and if you have toggled on this memory shield, so there would be, if you make a class, there would be an option to kind of, turn on this memory shield. So what will happen is automatically the AI engine will start sending revision and diagnosis worksheets for your students from that specific chapter or concept. And that will be sent based on the personal forgetting curve of the student. So if I'm a student and if I remember something for 3 days and the another student remembers it for 7 days, so I will get the revision worksheet after 3 days and the other student gets it after 7 days. So that is the kind of personalization that we are working towards. And all of this you can try by either scanning the QR code, which is on the screen right now, or you can download it from the link that I have already shared in the chat. I will just pin that link also. A lot of thank you and encouraging messages after that link. So just sharing it once again. Yes, Mohan was saying you're using it for maths grade 8, 9, and 10. That is really nice to know. We are also coming up with, now that we have come up with image support, so you would be able to see the geometry questions also. So far, the geometry questions were like very simple, mostly, just assessing the theory. But now with the image support, which we actually built for foundation stage, it will be useful in the middle and secondary grade as well. And yes, finally, thank you for all the patience. I will be sharing the feedback form now in a while, just copying the link from here. Copy. And you have the feedback form as well in the chat. And for any queries, please fill the feedback form very carefully. And your certificates will come in Neo Assistant itself. So the number that you will put in the feedback form has to match with the number with which you have logged in into your Neo Assistant. why we send your certificates only in Neo Assistant is to maintain the authenticity of the certificate. And also it acts like a safe wallet. So you can log in from any device. Like I'm using like 2-3 devices, but doesn't matter. And I can log in from any device with that number and the certificate will be there. You can download it anytime, right? So just make sure that the number matches what you will put in your feedback form and what you will log in on your Neo Assistant. Okay? And for any queries, any support, like if your subjects are not there or if your curriculum is not matching, if there is any issue that you face while using the Neo Assistant, because we are also just starting out. So you please join this WhatsApp group. I will share the link of that as well. And my number would be there in the admin of that group. So you can connect with me, you can share your feedback, and we'd be very happy to hear from you. And we will give you a timeline on how soon we can incorporate your feedback. So right now you are seeing the QR code of our WhatsApp group. And I will also share the link here in the chat as well. So it's easy for you to join.